I want to start with saying that we are living in a fantastic time. Really, I'm so fortunate to be, we are very fortunate to be living in this time. Why? Because we've got many challenges. It makes us creative, makes us looking for new solutions. And in the field of water, what is happening, water is also going through a very rapid evolution, but also with a silent revolution. And if I want to maybe summarize what is a silent revolution about, it is with three key words. Many of us think, water, refer to water as a sector. This is what we were looking at very much. And I'm taking these words from the chairman of the OECD Water Governance Initiative, who made a brilliant intervention on that. So we were looking on water sector. Gradually, we found out that actually water is more than a sector, it's a factor. It's a factor that can, together with education, together with energy, together with different factors that are pulling the development. But now, today, we are realizing that water is a vector. It's a vector of development. It's at the center of many things that are happening in development. So, if we look at indeed this, maybe you have seen that already, but if we look at the SDGs, different 17 SDGs, we can put water in the sector with great certainty. Water is contributing to almost all the other different development goals. And really, in terms of, we can really say that it has become an engine of development, and hence, thank you very much, Dustin, for bringing this political economic side, where we're really looking at now the language. Also, a big revolution is the language we use about water is not only about pipes, etc., but we're looking at water security, of course, but we're looking at energy security, because in a way we can look at also what is the relationship between water and energy, food security, environmental security, but more than that, it's becoming part of the story of green economy, of green cities. It is really a vector of all these different visions that we have now, water being at the center. But of course, development goes with increased pressure on the water quality, pressure on water quantity, as you all know. Water crisis, we'll see that a bit later. The rise of digital water. Digital water, which is going to be, a big change in our world. We have got next door the Smart City conference, but the smart water in smart cities is a reality as well. Decreasing costs, changing the way we manage water, even at the user's level. We're using our smartphones to inquire our bills, to pay for our bills. This is today, it's happening. So the value of water, the way we look at water is very different. And virtual water and water culture. Thank you very much also for bringing this point. I think, Dustin, you also mentioned the cultural aspect. Very key, indeed, because really the way we as users, we as producers, we as developers, we as planners is very key on the way we look at water. The change of mindset, the change of perception. And I want to say here, maybe to give, I don't know, we have a few mayors here, but when I work, for example, I work in a city called Kinshasa, which is in Congo, the capital city of Congo, 11 million inhabitants. Speaking with the mayor, saying, okay, Mr. Mayor, we're going to look at your water situation, wastewater situation. He says, yes, interesting, okay, very good. But I tell him at the same time, we're going to be looking at employment. We're looking at income generation. And then suddenly you can see his face changing completely. Because the language we have, this is part of the culture, the language we have with water is changing. We want to make an impact with politicians, with decision makers. We need to talk about employment generation. Water creates employment. And this is really one of the things that we're looking at also very much. Now, one of the things, all these changes has led to the United Nations thinking, okay, let's try to understand what is valuing water about. So there's been an inquiry, consultations in many countries around the world, and trying to understand what people think about valuing water. It may seem, again, one of these eccentric exercise because we need to buy water, we need to finance investments. Why go around the world and try to ask people what they think about water? Well, basically, because we understand we are in a society of transformation. And we need to understand where is the click. And if the click is happening in people's ideas, in people's minds, in people's concepts. So this is what trying to find out what would be the compelling messages, how can we actually accelerate? Because today we are talking also very much about acceleration. How can we accelerate this together? So the high panel on water has come up with different principles which are known as the Bellagio principles. And the first principle is really actually to recognize the different values. Well, this seems maybe a bit more clear for all of us, but when you go actually and work in try to start working in an environment of a city, this becomes difficult. You've got people working on the water resource, the health ministry working there. You've got the ministry of, or the department, let's say in a city, department of transport or recreational affairs in another place, social development in another place. Trying to put them together is not easy. Each one has an agenda, each one has a vision. So this is one of the key points. We need to understand that value is all this. The value of water is all this, and putting this together is one of the challenges we are working on. The second principle is really about building trust. Maybe water is a human right here in Spain, it's a right in France, but I can tell you, it's still a struggle in many places in the world. Clean water, and we try to see, people actually do have pay for water. In some places they pay 10, 20, 50 times more expensive the water than in the rich neighborhoods compared to the poor neighborhoods. Water integrity. A World Bank study has come out with an estimation of 20% of the investments that are 20% of the investment done in the water sector is going into leakages. But what kind of leakages? Leakages that goes in there. Huh? Leakages in the pockets, not leakages in the pipe. So this makes a lot of money. And not only the money side, but it creates a different culture, the trust is not there. So it really slows down a lot. So there's really a lot of discussion around this as well. And multi-stakeholder partnerships. What is really interesting, I really encourage you to look at the UN Water report of this year, August 2018, that looks at integrated water resources management. We see that 80% of the countries in the world have included integrated water resources management in their plan. However, a lot of them are still in the drawers. Nothing is really done about it. And the main recommendation to move ahead is work together, multi-stakeholder partnerships. This is a recommendation of the United Nations, how to promote the sector, how to accelerate the sector into becoming indeed a vector. Of course, indeed, the whole vision about the third principle, looking about protecting the sources as a very key point. We will see very interesting things happening at that point as well. I will mention right after that. Principle 4, educate to empower. Really very key as well, education, but at all levels of education. Education not only at professional level, but education also, public awareness in schools, education for environmental sustainability, water having a value for development, for my life, the way I consume, the way I produce. This is part of the global change that is happening. The last principle, invest of course in innovation. And this is being done. I'm very happy to see that next door again we've got a smart city. We're putting this together. This is really interesting. Now another point which is quite interesting as well, water and faith. Maybe try to think, maybe you would not have imagined today to listen to something about religion. Of course in Spain or in France again or Sweden, religion is something put in the museum. But I can tell you, 8 people out of 10 in the world are actually saying that they belong to a certain faith denomination. Water has a profound, it's symbolic meaning in every religion, not almost, in all religions, all traditional beliefs. Life, purity, renewal, reconciliation, healing, regeneration. And this, I can tell you, influence a lot the way people value water, the way people will look at the way they will protect the sources, they will also avoid spoilage of water. And this is really very interesting. So what we are doing now in the Global Water Partnership, together with the World Council of Churches, together with some Islamic boards in Morocco, in Jordan, together with Buddhist communities, Hindu communities, with the Vatican City as well, we're trying to make them part of the story. Okay, this is, faith becomes a vector, a way of changes. So this is quite interesting to see, and we're trying to see, because there's a lot of money being invested also in this regard. So we're trying to really make this a real multi-stakeholder partnership. Culture has definitely an amazing position in this challenge that we are looking at. Now, the other point also we need to look at is water and peace. If we look at the world, water is also very much a factor of conflicts. And we really encourage you, if you have not done so yet, please look at the report on the high-level panel on water and peace. This is really very interesting. We're seeing not only as war situations, armed conflicts, but also as social conflicts between communities. And so trying to see, okay, water is a factor of peace, but it's also a factor of war. And so there's a big new tendency now, because we're trying to see that water has a new discipline, water diplomacy. And the Swiss government is very strong into this. We are trying also to accompany some of the initiatives. One of them is called the Blue Peace Initiative, which has also involvement of the Iraq, Iran, Turkey, Lebanon, Syria, if I remember well, and who else again? Israel will be part of it, but it's still in negotiations, and trying to discuss together. So these countries, as you know, they're not discussing, they're in conflict. So trying to find that water can become a dialogue, that countries start to talk because they need to talk. They have common conflict, they have common resources, common transboundary issues. And so water becomes a momentum, a platform where we can actually start to discuss. So we can build peace through water. This is interesting. One thing also which is really interesting, maybe some of you have heard, the eco-peace movement, which is happening on the Jordan River. And there we have also communities, Muslim, Jewish, Christian communities working together, trying to protect together the water source. So trying to go working from the community, not waiting for the global side to the global politicians to actually work on this. So multi-stakeholder partnership, very much so. Working together on this, it's not easy. The Blue Peace Initiative, just to give you an idea, the Blue Peace Initiative, it took about 10 years to reach an agreement on who is going to do what, okay? So it takes time. But again, it's better to take this time. Again, it's a moment to talk and a moment to actually think about development together. So basically, I'm going to stop here, but just trying to ask you the question, of course, you do value water, otherwise you would not be here. But it's a question we ask everywhere. Do you value water? And water, again, just to take for the very final conclusion, we have water is going through a very rapid evolution, but underneath the current, we've got a silent revolution where water becomes a vector of change. Thank you very much.